Beautiful. Wow. Perfect. All right. We're up. We're up and we're live. You guys don't even know what the hell you're getting into. Okay. So, we have a new setup, which is awesome. This is going to drive everybody wild. Probably cause some feral people in chat, which is sick. Let's find out if I can get everything perfect off rip. I think I can. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to continue on drawing a bunch of... How's that? Are we back? Nice. Okay. What's up, everybody? We're drawing turkeys today. We are going to hopefully make a ton of headway on this project, and I'm going to talk through all of the methods that I use to get to that final product. And it's actually extremely simple. So what we did last time is we just talked about how basically every single drawing ever is boxes. You can turn any sort of box into a full drawing. And that's where we started with these. So the last stream we basically just drew out a bunch of rectangles, made them 3D with... Oh, whoa! Poochie, what's up? Oh no, you lost her? That's alright. Another one will come. You know what I mean? There's nothing to be ashamed about. It's sick. How you been otherwise? How was the week? So what we did with the boxes, we turned them 3D, and that gave us sort of a perspective and a Tupperware to then make all of our details inside of. Then from there you can turn all of these other details like the head, the neck, the body, and you can just start laying in more and more and more boxes and simple shapes. And those simple shapes give you the space to then make whatever perfect drawing you want to make, right? Also, Poochie, how is the camera quality? Is it better? Another one bites the dust. Been good, actually. My face is super chapped. Oh, interesting. I've also been good. Very, very busy the past week. That's why lack of everything. But as we're moving forward, it's going to be pretty sweet. And we have a 3-day weekend this weekend. We have, I don't know, feel like a bunch of good things to look forward to. It's also been a really rough news week for all of us, so that's obviously weighing on us pretty heavily. But I'd say so far, so good. Okay, so with all of these boxes, with all of these small details, with all of these like inlaying things, we're kind of coming into this drawing at a pretty reasonably finished mark. So what I mean by that is what we do with all of these drawings, let me see if I have some better examples. What we do with the simple shape stuff is like we'll start this crazy drawing with a big triangle, a big circle, some rectangles, and all of those things. And then you slowly add in more and more detail. So that's where you're coming in on these turkeys. We've done all of the simple shapes, and now we're sort of in that finishing mode, or that finishing era. And what we could do now is we can really just start looking at, if you're using a reference image, this is a great time to use that. And we're just sort of starting to gray wash, or put a huge sort of over-encompassing wash of color over this whole drawing. And what this does, as you can see on this turkey, there's a little bit of gray everywhere, and then I put details on top. And what that does for any drawing you're doing, any sort of serious piece or long piece or whatever, it gives sort of an illusion that there's a ton of detail in this drawing, when in actuality I'm just doing a little bit of gray and then some feathers on top, right? So whenever you're drawing and you have something like this that has a ton of intricate detail, or even just like enough detail to kind of make you scratch your head, it's always pretty smart to just start with a little bit of a gray wash. And I'm just like, I'm using my pencil to just sort of fill in everything as gray. So then as we're moving forward, it makes it way easier on me to finalize and pick certain lines, right? So we're going through and we're nailing those legs. We can start adding in a little bit of harder detail around this outline of this turkey. And what this is going to do is, as we outline and as we figure some of these larger details out, like the leg and the tail and all of these extra feathers, is the more outline lines we have, the more contour lines as they're called, basically what it does is it gives us more boundaries for where our details have to be inside of, right? So like with these outlines, if I can get a solid outline going, I know that all of the feathers, all of the detail, everything has to be in between these two lines, instead of starting a drawing from scratch up here and just like letting it fall apart immediately, right? That's what sort of big dumb idiots would do. But we're not big dumb idiots. We're chillers, and we bounce on it crazy style. So, as we're focusing on all of these outlines and details, we're just remembering that all of this stuff is going to have weight to it. There's going to be depth there. There's going to be some 3D action, right? So as we're doing that, as I'm doing all of these gray washes, I'm keeping all of my lines sort of crazy. And what I mean by that is I'm keeping them all gestural. I'm keeping them all like pretty scratchy. I'm keeping them not so perfect and precise. And the reason I'm doing that is because once we start going into real detail, all of this stuff is either going to get covered up or erased, right? So, another sort of drawing tip or a meta tip for you, if you're drawing Bradar, what is that? Are you talking about the turkeys? Sigen Pex? What the hell are we talking about here? As you're drawing, like there's definitely a time where you're going to have a piece or have a drawing, and all of a sudden it's going to start falling flat and you're going to get horribly frustrated, right? It happens to me all the time. But what this method does of starting really, really simple and doing all of the shapes first and all of the outlines and all of like the big stuff, and then moving inward to the more and more detailed, it's that progression that makes great pieces. It's that progression that gives you stuff that looks cool and interesting and different. Like this guy took a lot longer, but he looks epic, right? And like this guy too, all the shading and all the whatever, like it's not the best drawing in the world, but imagine just trying to go in and do this off rip instead of starting with simple shapes and then moving forward. Like I'm hoping that all of these turkeys, once I start putting on hats and coats and ties on them, that they're going to start popping their thing, right? So as we go, you can start using reference, you can start using whatever sort of information you have to finish this drawing, but as you remember, or as you think, sorry I have to go a little bit focus mode on this, it's all simple shapes first. If you can nail just simple shapes on every drawing, you can pretty much beat out most other artists in your same like talent bracket, right? Or skill bracket. There's no, I mean there's a little bit of talent in drawing, but if you're doing 15, 20 minutes a day of drawing every single day, you're going to be leagues above. You're going to be in the top 1% of all artists very, very quickly. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but think about it. There is basically a few lessons you can learn in drawing, and that's like shape and form and value. And shape is just like understanding the perspective of things and the proportions of things. Value is understanding color and how to change and like manipulate it to show shadows and light and all of that stuff. And then whatever the other one I said was, who cares at this point? Like there's really those sort of key factors in art and drawing, and guess what? They're all practicable. You can pretty much nail all of those with just doing it over and over again for like let's say a month. Like it's really not that hard. It's just discipline. And then guess what? You can take a drawing like this and you can spend a week on it or whatever's comfortable for you. And then at the end of the week, you're going to have a bang on drawing. Whereas like a lot of people think that you should just be able to draw everything in 2 minutes. Like that's impossible. That's an impossible task to take on. You You can't draw anything in 2 minutes. Everything takes time. So if you start learning that and start realizing that, oh man, if I just do 5 minutes a day, I'm going to be much better than everybody very, very quickly. As long as you're like learning the right way. If you're just drawing scribble for 15 minutes a day, you're going to be really good at drawing scribble, but nothing else, right? Like you have to practice the things that need practicing over all of the other stuff. And then all of a sudden, you go back and you try and draw the same thing that stumped you like a month ago, and it's so much easier. It's like that is the best feeling in all of drawing, is when you get to a point where, say like right now I'm drawing these turkeys, and I keep practicing, whatever, however much I end up practicing. In a month, with all of that practice, I come back and I try and draw these same turkeys just from memory. Like I'm gonna cruise, first off, I'm gonna cruise through this drawing way faster, and that's probably going to look a hell of a lot better, just because I have all of that newfound like practice, that muscle memory, that sort of expertise and mastery that I didn't have right now, right? So like even there, this this left side. Oh, what's up everybody? We got 10 people in here. Hell yeah, I'm dropping bombs. Not actually. I'm dropping some knowledge bombs on everybody. Not violently. Actually, it is very violent. But we're talking about drawing, we're talking about art. Like you can see this left side, I drew all of these little feathers a little bit too small. And then the right side, guess what? I figured it out and I fixed it. And it bangs off, right? Guess what? That's the same with every other piece of art or drawing or technique or whatever you're learning. Just do it one time, it's gonna suck, that's fine. Do it again and then be like, oh shit, that's how you actually do it. And then you just keep doing it that way forever. And guess what? Soon you're gonna be selling pieces. Because that's the only thing art is good for, is selling and profit and capitalism. If you're getting into art for passion, get out, man. It's for money. We only do stuff for money here. Okay, now with this big guy in the middle, those feathers are cascading and causing a lot of light, but also turkeys have this like undercoat. They have fur. They basically are wearing big massive pea coats, and if you really look at them, it looks like honestly, it looks like businessmen from the 1800s. Like they just look like dorks constantly. So what I'm going to do is I have these first few feathers, and then I really want to get a darker value everywhere else built up just a little bit. So I'm going to really focus on this pelt. Also, their top feathers sort of look like a puffer jacket everywhere. Like I probably have to extend these up. Wait, I am doing it wrong. I thought we were starving and suffering for our art. No, 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 no. That's what the losers do. Only the losers suffer and are starved artists. The winners only think about profits. Okay, so, like this stream, for example, I'm making $2 million off of these turkeys just because I'm practicing a lot. And you guys might not think, 2 million sounds like a lot for 8 viewers. No, no, no. Dude, I'm running a lot of ads. A lot of ads overseas. I have bot farms out the wazoo. You wouldn't even believe how many people are watching my ads right now as I'm drawing this. Whoa, Cade, what's up? How you been? Cade's gaming and stuff. You changed your name yet again? That's great. I like it. So, what age did I start? I've sort of been drawing on and off for like my whole life, probably since, I don't know, maybe 10. But then I started taking it really seriously about 2 years ago. And that's when I started learning like how to do simple shapes. I started learning what it takes to be like an art teacher, so that sort of yielded a bunch of new lessons of how can you take really complex things and simplify them down. And I've been going back over all of my drawings and like really figuring out how to start and redo. Like I can find one of my sketchbooks soon, but it really shows the progress from basically like a nothing burger, like a guy who's just scribbling all day, to all of a sudden I was drawing like jaguars and like deer and rhinos and all these animals that had always stumped me. And it all just came from simple shapes and practice and everything like that. So as you can see with this turkey, as I'm doing this right sort of breast or side of the body, since I did that gray wash in the beginning, we really just have to do some of these fine details, and I'm just kind of freeballing all of them because guess what? A lot of it's going to get erased and a lot of it's going to change when I actually put in some permanent lines. So I'm not too precious about these. That's another thing as you're drawing and as you're learning. How's the pencil? Oh, what's up, Sad Boy 212? New guy, how are ya? I'm doing good, pretty normal. Everything is sort of going. Last week was crazy busy. How's the pencil? It's great. It's getting very, very small, but guess what? Bang, bang, bang. I have infinite. I have too many. I have so many I don't know what to do with them. I have so many I was thinking about throwing them away. You're doing good, Sad Boy? That's great. We're drawing. I'm trying to teach. I don't actually know if any of it works. I've had a few people say that I have some good things to say, but I've had a lot of people say that I should never do this again. So we're sort of on this journey together. With this, as you can see, I just put in some like blocker lines. I just put in a little indication of where I want the legs to start. This turkey kind of giving mask vibes. That's what I'm thinking. See, ya boy, what I'm doing is I want all these guys to look like businessmen, and then I'm going to put little hats on them and little ties on them and make them look like idiots. I'm going to fool them in front of their wives. Like it would beat me up or something? I think it probably would. You could give some to me. Oh, are you talking about all the money I'm making off of this stream, Ted? Yeah, I wish. One time I checked, so like technically you can make money on TikTok, right? Everyone knows this, but only if you're like super famous. I checked one time and I had made 1 cent on all of my stuff, which is like honestly very cool and impressive, but that was months ago. I hit my 1 cent, I made it. I got rich quick and I dipped. Could you draw Sukuna for me? Ooh, I could do something like that. Let me write that down. That'll be the next thing if we make it. Today's probably going to be a little bit short, but I also might get on later tonight, depending. I'm having fun. No, I see businessman Turkey cheating on his wife, living a secret double life. Ooh, now we're talking. Don't forget the single eye spectacle. Oh my god. Alright, now we're thinking. Now we're cooking. Wow, thank you. Of course, Sad Boy. Decade was so flabbergasted of Nathan's incredible cases, he froze. Oh my god. Cade, you're role-playing in my chat? Back to the drawing. So, I put in these little blocker lines. Not only does that define the legs a little bit better, but it tells me where to stop doing the feathers. As you're drawing, as you're working through a piece, as you're doing any of this garbage for nothing, what you want to do is give yourself as much information as possible. And what I mean by that is, so say I'm drawing this turkey, and I get all of the simple shapes down. As I'm going, I'm going to throw in like a little indication for an eye, and then that's going to tell my brain about like where everything else on the head is going to be, so I can lay in some more details. And then I lay in a couple more details, and then I'm like, oh man, there's some more information to look at. That eye is actually wrong. So, big pro tip, big like hacker tip for you, something to bounce on and chew on, is the more you draw, the more you're like teaching yourself about the drawing. So, sometimes if you get really stuck with the drawing, just start throwing down some lines. Just start like adding, start sort of experimenting, put your money where your mouth is, just go, trust the process, and eventually you're going to see something that either works perfectly or needs changing. And then guess what? Grab an eraser and change it. It's pencil. It's not that hard. And if you're drawing with pen, hey, if you're making consistent mistakes all the time with a pen, you can either, cover it up with more ink, or maybe, hey, maybe work with pencil. Try doing some pencil drawings and get better at drawing and then go to pen. It's not that hard. The one in the middle is standing on its tippy toes. Yeah, baby. That's the whole point. He's trying to look tough and gruff for his two little cronies right here. But also, that's a good point. Maybe I drop him down onto his regulars. He had a good day at the stock market, but it's still not enough for him. It's never enough for these guys. They just eat and eat and eat. They take and take, dude. It's ridiculous. So we're just going to continue with these details. And we basically finished that whole breast. And then the rest of these feathers are kind of like those neck feathers up top. They're just fluff, it's just warmth for the turkeys. Another thing too is when you're drawing animals, when you're drawing anything, I don't know, I've only been drawing for like 3 weeks. Oh, wait, I think you are misaligning the horizon line, which should be their feet. Notice how the turkey in the middle's feet are positioned kind of awkward. Yes, these feet are subject to change. If you can see a little bit of these right feet and these left feet, they're different, right? Like this one stops right here and this one's right here, but the reference image, the image that I'm using, I actually had the horizon line way up here because these guys are standing in the front yard of a house on snowbanks. So a few of them are a little bit higher up, a few of them are a little bit lower. The ground is actually much, much different, and the horizon line's usually at the head, not the feet. Unless, you know, if you are doing something with a very large sky, or if you are doing something where you need the person to stand right on the horizon line, that's fantastic. But a good rule of thumb is horizon lines usually end up about head, neck, shoulder area. Um, it's usually like right in the middle of your eye when you're looking at something. So what that tends to be is the person that you're drawing, no matter how far away they are. If they get further away, they're really small, but their head is still on that horizon line. That is a hot tip. But drawing for 3 weeks is sick. What do you draw? So as we're going, we are just going to continue adding little bits of detail as we go. Nothing crazy special. We are going to darken up the lines that need it because we are just sort of giving ourselves as much information as possible consistently. So, like I was just pointed out, the claws or the feet are a little bit off, so we're just going to refine a little bit, which is super easy. You just use your pencil. You get that down. Those are just placeholders for now, but we'll see. He's going to be standing a little bit on top of a little hill of snow, so we can indicate that as well. And then these guys' feet are going to be below that snowbank, right? I wish I could draw though. I always wanted to do one of those drawings in a notebook while traveling. Oh, you should. Ya boy. Just do it. The crazy thing about drawing is if it looks bad, who cares? It's only for you. If you like it and you kind of zen out doing it, then do it for the zen out moment. You don't need to post everything, right? My mistake, I was viewing it from a position where we... Oh, yes, yes, yes. Also, don't worry about it. It was a good opportunity for me to say something cool. Nathan the Grey was drawing 3 incredible turkeys. Thank you very much, Cade. You draw from your imagination and study off Pinterest. That's perfect. Sad boy, that's the best way to do it. There are a lot of people that'll say like reference images and drawing from something or looking at stuff for inspiration is like cheating, and I think that's the dumbest take of all time. I think the more you can study and see real world stuff and then draw it in your notebook and then also like learn that and internalize it and figure things out through example is awesome. And like everyone, that's sort of how you learn how to draw. And everyone that says that that's faking it or whatever, I don't know, I guess they probably say that more with tracing, but even though, like, tracing still teaches you a ton. Like, let's stop shaming people for how they learn, right? Guys, can I get a freaking amen on that? What the hell? I can't, the muscles in my hand are weak. When I try to handwrite, my shoulders hurt. Whoa, interesting, you boy. Has that always been a thing for you, or is that like a new... Like, when did that change? Thank you for the amen, sad boy. I'm gonna actually go back over here. I'm gonna throw it back on a player. I'm going to add a little bit of detail on this guy's head because he looks kind of nude right now. Which, like most turkeys do, all of turkeys' heads look like ball sacks. We can all say that. We can all just be for real here, and we can all just sort of understand that turkeys' heads look like balls. Your brother dared you to do that? What'd you do? Kenshi! Kenshiro, what did you do? You didn't do anything, Kenshiro. Yeah, always. I can do really good stickman though. Hey, that's perfect. That's where everyone sticks out. One big whoa, Wonderland. Hey, how's it going? I've been showing my progress on a YouTube channel. In the past 3 days, I've focused on being able to visualize things better mentally. Dude, that's sweet. Those are all like the incredible steps to take. Nathan, do you like my font? I do actually, Kate. That's very, very cool. Wonderland, what's up? We're drawing turkeys today. I'm trying to give any sort of lesson, I guess, about drawing. And we're just chilling, having a good time. Everybody is enjoying themselves, or at least most people are. There are a couple really pissed off people on TikTok. But that's just to be expected. They do not like me over there. So with this, you know, as we're moving through and we all understand that turkeys' heads look like ball sacks, we're just slowly adding in detail because, guess what? Everybody say it with me now. We did all of the simple shapes first. So now it's just sort of like a paint by numbers. It's like a draw by numbers. All of these outlines I'm comfortable with. They feel good to me. So as we're doing this and as we're figuring things out, with this outline, it's sort of awesome for us because it turns what was a very complex drawing into sort of like a pretty easy method, a pretty easy system. All I have to do is kind of dance around all of this stuff and add in detail where I think it's absolutely necessary. And then I can go around and I can add in some color where I think it's absolutely necessary. I can go in and I can add anything like fresh and new, like if I want these guys to wear a hat, which I definitely do, all I have to do is go in and add it. There's no like rocky spots of a drawing. A lot of times you'll be drawing, you'll stick to photography. Dude, that's also incredible. What if you did photography and then on top of the pictures you take, you draw a little stick man, and as you go, you draw differently every single time, and all of a sudden you've started animating the stick man on your photography. You ever think of that, you boy? Huh? You ever really just think about that? What type of hat? Thomas? I'm talking bowler. I'm talking a big fat fucking bowler hat. Something straight out of the Pilgrim times. Cade, you're yay maxing? How's your day or night been? Oh, you're talking to Wonderland? Sick. I'm glad you guys are getting along. Okay. So with this, remember, I'm just adding all of these little details, these fun extra details. But with turkeys, as you can see on both of these guys, not so much this one because of his angle, but this guy specifically, turkeys have sort of like an underfur. They have like a pea coat that they wear. And feathers pop out and they're like light feathers peek through, and they sort of have this crazy design around them that kind of makes it look like they wear scarves and or Patagonia jackets. So what I'm doing here is just for an indication to myself, I'm throwing in a darker tone everywhere so that when I come back in and I finalize these, I at least have like a light zone and a dark zone. Sometimes when people do a ton of gray washing or a ton of coloring in, you then have to erase much, much more. But if you can have a little bit of foresight and leave those spaces white, then it makes the finishing and the polishing so much easier. Nope, but that makes a good idea. I might steal it. You should. Top hat on the center guy. Ooh, I like that idea. This guy will have top hats, and then these two guys will have bowlers. Nathan is the most incredible drawer. Oh, thank you, Kate. That's a really nice quote. It snowed where you are, Wonder? That's sweet. I miss the snow. I haven't seen snow in a while. I moved to the south. South California, though. So, the cool version. Lucky you over here, it's been super cold but dry. Interesting. Are you guys East Coast? I have a lot of East Coast viewers. You think the pilgrims and turkeys had beef? Thomas, I'm telling you, a lot. They made a whole day about it. They killed so many of these fuckers, they made a whole holiday because they thought it was funny. I'm thinking turkeys do not like guys dressed like. They do not like guys dressed like themselves. Which would be such a funny bit. I think that's probably why turkeys look the way they do. They're trying to blend in so they don't keep getting shot by all the pilgrims that ruin their whole lives. What I'm doing here is I'm gray washing. Like I've been talking about before, if you lay in, so if I know that I have to do a bunch of detail and a bunch of fun stuff on this body, if I lay in a nice little layer of smooth graphite, and I'm leaving this middle strip open because I know that everything is going to sort of combine and confide into those two, into this crease, sort of like the chest hole of a turkey. I'm leaving that a little bit open so I have more wiggle room, but this gray wash, what it does is once I start putting details on top of it, like all these feathers, it looks like I did a ton of detail, right? When in reality I just sort of colored this in and then put details on top. It gives depth to a drawing. If you hear people talk about depth, that's what they're talking about. You live in Oahu? Whoa! That's so cool. Okay, that's awesome. I've only been there once. So I'm guessing the light source is coming from behind them. Sad boy, the light source on these guys, that's interesting. That's a very hard question to answer because it was an overcast day, so the light was very neutral. It was sort of everywhere, and the shadows were very minimal. So this drawing is actually going to end up looking a little bit strange because there isn't going to be any hard shadows, but if I do the landscape around it and if I do the shadows underneath them correctly, it should sort of work out and it should look fine. But there is something very interesting about what you just said. I wish. I wish there were some hard shadows on this guy, but we just can't do it. It's just not fair. It's just not realistic for this drawing. So it's going to be a very even wash, which is going to be very interesting, and then what we're going to do is really focus on stuff around their feet, where the shadows definitely will be, and then we can also focus on darkening up and making sure every detail of their feathers are correct as well. We can add little highlights on tops of their heads and everything like that, but for now, I just want to get like the base detail done, and we can start polishing and figuring out the fun stuff later, if that makes sense. So we're just getting all of this initial detail in. I don't know, the cold is fun, but gets depressing real quick. Yeah, definitely. It's fun in the cold, but except when it's hot and instant cold. Yeah, I'm in on that. 30s, then you're fine. Yeah, I can get down on that. I can get down. Depth, Thomas. Thomas, you a big turkey guy? Also, I totally missed it, but your turkeys have beef joke is kind of beast. The multiple meat layers in there? Now there's some depth. Talking about turkeys and beef in the same sentence? Yeah, there's some depth, Thomas. God, you're so good at that. Okay, so we're back to these little scribbly feather details. And remember when we did that gray wash through the whole thing, now it looks like I colored each one of these in sort of independently. And because we did a gray wash instead of like an actual deep coloring, there's depth to each of these feathers, and it kind of gives your brain too much to think about, so when you're looking at them, it looks a little bit better than it actually is, right? So we're just going to throw in a couple of these. And then we're going to move on to the wing just for a little bit because I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to have to end stream pretty quickly. The average is 80 or 75. Yep, that makes sense. Oh, in Oahu? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Chicken. Thomas. Oh, what's up? What's up, Di? Or Diego. Whoever cares. Um, yes. Perfect. Okay, so with this wing, right? We are going to, same thing as always. Remember when we set up all those containers. Remember when we set up all of those simple shapes. Let me move this a little bit closer for everybody. What that does for us is it gives us more simple shapes. What made you start drawing? I don't know. I just like, it's one of those things where I just like the way it feels. I like zenning out. I like flow state of drawing. I like just enjoying myself quietly to music and drawing. So it's sort of just like some people like going for walks, some people like bike rides. I like drawing. So I started doing it more often than not, if that makes any sense. Do you have any passions, Lenny? What made you to start drawing? But what we do with this, like I've always been saying, is if we break everything down into simple shapes, it turns the drawing into like a paint by numbers. So this wing, I'm just going to slowly start outlining and really figuring out sort of as we go where I want certain details. And this wing is going to fold into those tail feathers, right? And then it's also going to have a little bit of depth and change of shape around the outside, because guess what? Not everything looks like plastic. Real animals have lumps. Dang, bro, you live in forever paradise? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, sad boy. You're gonna leave? That's alright. And you're close to Japan, yes sir. See you, Cade. But as we go, we can just follow all of the feathers that we've been doing with that gray washing, right? This section sort of spreads out a little bit better. This is where reference images really help. If you get stuck or stump on a specific part of an animal or a bird, just look up a Google image quick. Like, feathers are notoriously hard to draw, so like give yourself every single piece of advantage, or every advantage you can possibly have, to get this drawing correct, because if you don't, like, very quickly this will sort of ruin you, because the feathers on the wings specifically change direction so often that it usually ends up ruining your drawing if you can't get it right immediately. So there's like the simple version of what that wing is going to look like. We got some sort of definition and some sort of difference in the feathers, right? I'm feeling to create a story to imagination. That's awesome, Lenny. Diego, you're going to follow? Thank you very much. That's badass. I appreciate you. Okay, with that, basically, we have most of this body is colored in, details are sort of starting to set in, right? Now what people would probably do here is rush and try and finish this drawing quickly, right? But guess what? Quickness is sort of the enemy of art. The more time you can spend on a piece, usually the better it's going to be, right? That sounds crazy, but it's true. If you can take a step back as much as possible as you're drawing, we can do a little bit of color on these legs too. If you can take steps back and you can really think about stuff, and then you can go back over lines that you just drew that you're really proud of, and just continuously add and subtract and take away and like figure things out and figure out where you want the things, all of the details I mean when I say things, that is going to make your drawing so much better than someone that rushes through for 5 minutes, right? So I spent a minute or two on this wing. I was just doing a whole bunch of different color and variation of feather direction, right? Now I'm going to jump back up to the head. I'm going to add a little bit of detail around the eye, around his ball sack head, around his chin, just enough, just a little bit. And then we can go into this eye and we can darken this up, right? I'm just bouncing around. I'm slowly adding detail everywhere constantly. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring this drawing to sort of a more full feeling piece, instead of just like, oh, a weird turkey sketch. Like, you never want your finished drawings to feel like quick sketches, unless like that's the vibe you're going for. But if you're really drawing, just like continuously make little changes and little efforts and little details and whatever. And the longer you spend on it doing those little details, the more realistic it looks, the more depth it has. Oh, what's up, Queen of NASA? Are those turkeys? Yes, sir. I said, boy. The more detail you do, the more fun you have, the more whatever you add into your drawing, it slowly just becomes exactly what you imagine in your head. And it sounds kind of stupid and it sounds kind of strange to say that, but it really works if you trust the process. If you really just continuously work and grind on it, and then like erase the stuff that doesn't make sense, redo that. If it takes 3 or 4 times, do it 3 or 4 times. You can make every drawing look sort of as it sits in your imagination. It just takes time. A lot of people rush drawings and then they get frustrated. I used to do that all the time. I would rush every single drawing and then I would say, oh my god, I suck at drawing. But guess what? I don't really suck at drawing, I just am super impatient. So this method of simple shapes into detail and everything like that actually makes you a better artist. And with that, guess what, everybody? I'm so sorry, Queen of NASA, you just got here, but I'm ending. I've got a dinner to go to. But I'm glad you dropped in. I am. Check also, look at this. Queen of NASA, you see this new camera? You see how nice the drawings look now? You can actually see the different tones of pencil. I just got to figure out this light. But, like, it's so much better. I got a new camera. And it works. It's not even been an hour. I know. But I started right after work, and now I have to leave. Or at least get ready to leave. It sucks, I'm sorry. For everyone on TikTok, thank you very much for hanging out. Here, I'll give you a little... Oh! No, what did I do? This is me. Hey, I'm Nathan. This is my little setup. Isn't that crazy? But this is what I've been drawing. We've got this turkey so far, this one so far, and this one so far. Hopefully next time we can finish and finalize and put in some real details on this guy, but that's been it. It's been nice. Love ya. Goodbye. Okay. Lols. See you later. See ya. Thanks for stopping in. I'm excited to have you in next time and hang out for real, which is cool. Sad Boy, thanks for hanging out. Shout out Sad Boy. Always do. I always shout out Sad Boy. I'm glad you stuck around. Is this your first time in here? It has to be. I've never seen you before. Well, either way, I'm very glad you stopped in. It was really fun. I'm glad you like had real questions and you had really cool things to say about art. That was fun. It was fun to listen and respond. And hopefully, like, I helped, maybe? I don't even know if you were looking for help. Maybe I just kind of like, I didn't want to stomp on your parade. You said really good things. It was really fun. Sick. Dude, I'm glad. Thank you very much. That means a lot. Okay. With that, I'm out of here. Thank you. See ya.